Hey everyone, it's Aubrey, recovering perfectionist, queen of distraction / gardener, and welcome back for another summer garden tour. Last time we were together, it was 2 weeks ago. We took a break last week. My husband and I were out of town celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary. So we're back today with a very different garden, a very different mindset than I had a couple weeks ago. When we were together last here in the Pacific Northwest, we were experiencing a couple rainy days. It was definitely sweater weather vibes, and I was very nervous and feeling sad at the thought of fall approaching. And since that video has been recorded, we have had some pretty high temperatures. My husband and I were in Eastern Washington for a few days where we were exposed to weather in the hundreds. And after that and the hot weather at home, and now that I'm back experiencing a couple back-to-back cooler days, I'm looking forward to fall. I'm ready to get into a cozy sweater and be warm, because that is the warmth the clothing is providing to me and not necessarily the outdoors. I'm just over the hot weather. While I'm still thankful for the heat to give me the opportunity to hang dry my clothes outside, I'm just tired of being sweaty. That's really what it comes down to. I'm just tired of the uncomfortable, miserable heat. I love being warm, but I do not like being hot. So that is where I'm at when it comes to the outdoor temperature. Let's get to the garden stuff. There is so much that has grown and that's kind of phasing out over the course of the last week. So we're just going to go through the garden, see what's happening, go through the rest of the yard. There are some things that I am particularly excited about, and then just some things that need to be maintained and addressed. So here we go. We're gonna start here for now in the kale, brassica, nasturtium area. The nasturtiums overall are still beautiful. There are some that are dying back, but there is still some new growth on here. There's a ton of seeds, these little pods, which are actually edible. And what I did yesterday is I picked about a cup of these. Alec helped me with that. And you can pickle them and essentially make a fake caper. So I'm going to try doing that this year. I've never actually used capers literally ever in my cooking, but I figure it's just making use of something that I have in the garden, and we'll give it a try. While I do not mind the nasturtiums dropping their seeds, because I do love those popping up here and there, I could see them getting to be overwhelming. These are actually really disgusting on their own. They're very spicy. And while it initially seems okay, the end result is not. Let's plant some nasturtiums down there next year. Alrighty. Down in here where I had put some snap peas or some shelling peas, I don't remember, they really have kind of gotten crowded out by the nasturtiums in here. So this one has some blooms on it. I'm not really expecting much, but it looks like slugs or something have gotten to the other one, so whatever. With the kale and all the broccoli and whatnot is going really strong over here as usual. I'm still really just enjoying the greenery and how full this is. Another very exciting thing that happened over here is from this broccoli plant right over here, we actually got like not a full head like you'd experience at the grocery store, but I'd say like a third of that. It was neat to actually be able to break off more than just one piece of broccoli. For the most part, we were getting like little bits like this here and there, so it was exciting. The boys were really thrilled about that. And then over here, just still this giant kale, the broccoli that's going on. This is going to end up going to the chickens probably sometime in the near future. Since we are starting to lose some sun for a very small portion of the day from that big cedar tree, now we're like, the sun's going down, we are losing a little bit of sun in the garden, and I want to give these green beans here as much opportunity for light as I can, because these ones were obviously planted ahead of time throughout the rest of the garden. These ones are a little bit behind, and I want to give them the opportunity to catch up before we do lose even more light as we make our way into September and October. I just feel so excited about the fact that I actually have an arch now, and there's some baby beans all over the place. And I'm sure you all have heard me rave in the past about how excited I am for beans, but now that we actually have like the babies here and there, I'm just like even more excited for green beans and bacon in the cast iron. And then over here in lettuce land, Alec took it upon himself to clear out a couple of those plants for the chickens. I am waiting for these to flower. And then after that point, when the blooms fizzle out, I'll probably just toss these all in for the chickens and clear this bed out. Jackson has been doing a really great job of thinning out the carrot bed for me, which I really appreciate. Oh look, another one that's going to seed. This one finally is blooming. Is it just Queen Anne's lace, or is it a carrot that's gone to seed? I think they actually might be in the same family, but I am so very excited about that. That's so beautiful. It's taking everything in my strength not to cut this and bring it in the house, but we've got to let it go to seed for next year. As Jackson has picked through here, he's actually done a pretty good job at pinpointing the carrots that are actually a decent size. Alec just pulls out anything that he can get his hands on, and he's pulled out a ton of babies. So I'm hoping that between what the boys have pulled out, it will give the carrots that are still in here an opportunity to actually really grow and mature, and we'll have some decent sized carrots towards the end of the season when I actually finally make my way through the big bag that I had gotten at Costco a couple months ago. And then here we are. Look at this. It's just so green and tall and beautiful, and I love it. This just makes me so happy. More baby beans. You hear shrieks of joy from the house. Jackson and his friend are playing video games right now. Oh, here we are in the cabbage and the sunflowers. I'm so excited for these to bloom. This cabbage is still pretty disgusting. My mom and I had talked about cutting it back, but I think that at this point, I'm just gonna pull it out and give it to the chickens. I'm gonna let it ride out another week or so. My fear is that I'll pull this one out and any critters that are remaining will end up over here. Jackson is really very eager to get these. Let's see, I'm gonna squish you. He's really eager to get these harvested. And this one is pretty much ready, but I have a cabbage from the grocery store that's in the fridge that I want to use before I pick this. Just want to give this as much fresh time outside as I can, but it's realistically probably time to pick that, but I will wait for Jackson to be available to do that. Gosh, this bed is just so dang satisfying. And then over here in this corner, the nasturtium's still going strong. I was able to get a ton of seeds from this section over here. And then when we were gone, something got to the one red cherry tomato that we had, but it looks like that one. And then over here, I do have my ruggable rug. We've hit that 6-month mark of ownership. I finally put it in the wash. If you would like to see my 6-month review of my ruggable rug, I'm posting that tomorrow. You are welcome to join me for that. All right, tomato bed. I'm not really seeing any fruit on anything other than this buddy right there, but there's some blooms, so that gives me hope. I am kind of concerned about the beans shadowing the sun, but I mean, I guess they do get sun from over here for a portion of the day. So again, this time of year, just kind of that transitional time of season where we start having just like a smidge less daylight as far as like where it's tracking in the sky. It's just going behind a couple more trees than it was a month or 2 months ago. And it's where I start feeling concerned and remembering why I can't do a fall garden in here, because I just do not have enough sun in here, which is really disappointing. So whatever. We've got some sunflowers popping up right there, and then some kind of squash on this. This was one of the plants that my mom's friend had given me. And we've got some patty pans, which I just love those. I think they're the cutest things. And then one of the squash that was on here, it was a yellow squash. We did harvest that. The skin was pretty thick, but it wasn't thick enough to where I couldn't peel it off just with a vegetable peeler. I just cut that up and sauteed it with some mushrooms, and nobody liked it except me and Alec. My husband Josh and Jackson just aren't big on squash. It's whatever. I grow a ton of it, and I do my best to sneak it into their food without them complaining. Sometimes I succeed and sometimes I fail. It's just kind of one of those things with trying to feed the menfolk in your life vegetables. And then down here in the pepper department, things are doing what they're doing. There's some blooms on that one down there. These are the jalapeno plants from my mom. And then this is one of the plants from her as well. I still have not done anything with that. We've got the little lemons on our lemon tree. My basil over here is still doing okay. I need to get some Parmesan and some cashews because pine nuts are too expensive. And then I'm going to do just like a basil and kale pesto. I don't have a ton of basil, but I have a ton of kale. And so I'm hoping that that will be a good way to utilize the greenery that I've got going on in here. And then over here, these guys just took over. It was like one day I woke up and holy smokes, here they are. I haven't seen any actual gourdness yet, but time will tell. We've got some edamame beans. Oh, that's very exciting. I wish that was an heirloom variety, but it's not, so we will just eat what comes off of that. Last year, I had planted quite a few plants, and it was really only enough to harvest to like pop the beans out of the shell and throw them in a stir fry. I think I maybe got like a half a cup of beans between all the pods that grew on that. So not as much as I anticipated, but I don't know. What am I gonna do? It's not the end of the world. See, these snapdragons are blooming. I'm so thrilled about that variety that I got. It is really just such a beautiful pink. And then the calendula and some more of the snapdragons. But we do have 1, 2, 3 pumpkins. Oh, just kidding. 4. I know the boys are going to be very excited about when it comes time to harvest our pumpkins. Last year we got so many pumpkins that Jackson said, I don't think we need to go to the pumpkin patch this year. So we did not go to the pumpkin patch. And while it is a fun experience, I always end up buying 2 dang mini gourds. And this time I just ended up having 2 dang mini gourds in my yard. So it worked out. We all got our gourd fix. And then I've got some calendula coming up here. I took the basket off of our watermelon. I really hope we get something off of that, but it said 80 days to harvest, but I did have to replant that. And then, I think it's time to take the basket off of this, but again, oh gosh, it's really hanging on. So this is again one of those situations where we're losing sun. I might just have to take off some of the leaves from that pumpkin plant to give this the opportunity to get some light. And then there's another one over there. And then that little buddy right here. I'm gonna leave that on for a little bit though. But this zinnia is really showing signs of life. I'm excited for blooms on this one. Another zinnia there. And then my asters over here, which I've never grown asters before. This is my first year. I'm so excited for these to bloom. And then these snapdragons down here are from a batch that I had planted 3 years ago. And I love the shade of pink that this one ended up being this year. I think that's kind of one of those situations where like a plant grows, it makes seeds, it drops it, and then it kind of ends up getting combined with flowers in the area because that was not a shade of pink that was originally in the mix. So I guess there's like some cross-pollination going on there, and I love it. I am very, very excited about that. I'm also curious to see if there's gonna end up being any cross-pollination between these 2 zinnias, because that would be a beautiful mix. I will definitely be saving the seeds from this one and that buddy up there. We've harvested a couple of our zucchini, but there's really not a ton on there like I've experienced in the past. Oh, just kidding, I lied. There's one. So moving on from zucchini to cucumber, our cucumber plants were all annihilated by slugs, chickens, what have you. So my mom very generously, as she very so often does, saves me in the garden department. Last year was tomatoes. I guess this year it was also tomatoes and cucumbers. So we've got 2 cucumber plants there, some snapdragons, and then these are the melon plants that she had given me. She said that you're not supposed to plant melons with cucumbers, so which I guess, I don't know, isn't cucumber a melon? I'm confused. I left the sage in between and then did a couple cucumbers over here. More beautiful nasturtiums and snapdragons and zinnias. And then these big sunflowers over here. I'm so excited for those. I am so excited for those. Those are sunflowers that were growing in our lettuce bed from sunflowers that had grown in a different part of the garden last year that I transplanted over here. And I love how dang giant those are. Okay, back to cucumber land. So the nasturtiums down here, I kind of cleared out a little bit to make space to put a few cucumber plants in there. Again, shade concern, probably. Moving on past the giant grape. Jackson's sunflower that he started in class in, I think, May or June is bloomed and beautiful. But I was able to put some more of the cucumbers down there. There's a little sunflower there. And then the chamomile has just come back so strong. I have harvested quite a bit of that, but we came back from our trip and it was just like, oh, time to harvest again. So I've been able to dry quite a bit of chamomile. Probably, I don't know. I was thinking I was gonna try and be able to give you an estimation in weight, but I can't do that. Here, I popped a cucumber in and I think, nope. It is not all the cucumber. Over here, more cucumber. I put a couple in there as well. And then the beans that survived the chicken attack a couple weeks ago are actually making progress. And then another sunflower there. These beds were really sad a few weeks ago, but they're looking a lot better. And then over here, there was yarrow that I had harvested, and I have that drying in the laundry room right now. And then the skull cap is starting to bloom. That's beautiful. Oh, hi Bee, you're very cute, but don't sting me because I don't want to go to the emergency room. Boop. And I feel like we don't come over here that often, but look at my hydrangea. And then we've been getting mini harvests. Mini as in a little tiny harvest, not a lot, from our blueberry bush over here. Just berries here and there for the boys. Berries from your yard are just so much better than berries from the store. And then this is a hibiscus tree that my mom used to have at her house. Even though she's right across the street, we still get significantly much more sun, even though I'm talking about losing sun. So it just kind of goes to show you what she's experiencing over there if I'm losing sun and I still have more than her. but that is starting to bloom. They're just the prettiest things. I just love flowers. They just make my heart so happy. There's just still so much more to talk about. I almost forgot about the disappointing bean teepee. There are some plants that have been nibbled by deer, but it proved resilient and is making some more life. So we'll see what happens there. Some are starting to climb, like the one over there, but gosh, I don't know, things just really aren't looking super good in the bean teepee department. Like everything seems to be really delayed, and there every once in a while, like I'll forget to water over there because I have to bring the hose over there. It's just a whole thing where like the garden, I just pop on the sprinkler and it takes care of it for me. So that's getting a little neglected. It's just doing the best it can. But this bed in front of my bedroom window, things are phasing out. A lot of the larkspur is going to seed, so I need to get some of that pulled out, and then I'll save seeds for my favorites. But I know that as I pull this out, like I just moved that and I heard seeds fall, so that's probably going to be coming back strong next year. And this mullein is done blooming. So what I am going to do is I'm going to save some of those leaves, dry those, and I'm going to do a mullein tincture this year with that. Another sunflower. And this sunflower over here got like annihilated at the top, but really, again, another resilient plant with the will to live made 4 new little flowers. So those will be cute in a little vase when those do bloom. And then this bed over here, I did plant a bunch of sunflowers, which those are coming up. I just kind of clustered them all together. I was going to move them, but I don't think that I'll actually end up getting around to it. And then there are some calendula flowers that ended up like blooming and kind of dying in the chaos of Josh and I leaving for our trip. And so those ones I'll end up saving for seeds, but I have been able to dry quite a few. All right, to the pumpkin section, and then we're gonna be wrapping things up. I still haven't picked that. It definitely needs to be picked. A lot of the gourds I'll probably end up giving to the chickens. There's only so much squash that my family can realistically handle eating. I just thawed out like 6 cups of zucchini from last garden season that I'm going to try and do some zucchini bread with soon. But as long as somebody eats it, I don't care if it's us or if it's the chickens. At least it's not going to waste. But let's look in here. So excited for a big little white pumpkin. And there's another little buddy in there. And then our corn. Doo-doo-doo-doo. And the beans that my mom planted in here, they are climbing that, as I suspected. And there's just some more gourd, something in there. Oh, I think that's that one big thing. And then these guys. And last year I grew a couple, I think it was a blue Jardale. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but it was a beautiful blue-green pumpkin. And I got 2 of those, and I did still have some of the seeds, so I planted those this year, but I don't see any of those in that mix. So I'm pretty bummed about that. I wish I would have saved some of the seeds from the pumpkins last year, but I didn't. So I will buy another pack of those next year. And I'm sure it has to do with the fact that I really crowded my pumpkins this year, just trying to get in as much as I could and utilize seeds that I had. I was also kind of assuming that a lot of the seeds wouldn't germinate because some of them that I had were pretty old, but a lot came up. So that's that. That's my pumpkin story. But now we're over in big pumpkin land. There's this big little pumpkin that actually, well, I guess we kind of can just assume that you weren't going to survive. Let's see. Are you strong and willing to live? Yes. All right. You didn't break off. Well, that kind of sucked. Oh, well, I guess, you know, it's the circle of life. Oh, there's 2 on here. I didn't even realize that. Oh gosh, 3. I bet it's probably one of those situations where if you break a couple off, like the plant pushes the energy towards the one, but also like, I don't like doing that. Let's see, and then there's a little buddy down there. This is 2 plants over here. Oh, there's one right there. So that's 1 plant, and then, yeah, like this is 2 plants, but it looks like it's like 4. So it looks like most of the life is coming from this one over here. Jeez. Oh, pink hydrangeas. Boop. Okay, we're ending things with pumpkins. This is my little dandelion lawn. I am the one who waters, and my mom. And I really am so terrible at remembering to water our lawn unless there is like some kind of plant that is adjacent to them. There's an old septic tank down here, and that is why this is dead. But this over here really only makes weeds and dead grass. So our plan is to do like a drought tolerant wildflower lawn in our front yard. I do not know how far it will encroach into this area. We have to figure that out, but I mean, that's a project for another day. Let's look at the zinnias though. I just love that how much these zinnias have filled in. Alec and I have really enjoyed making mini bouquets here and there. And there's a lot that we have to cut coming up. And it is one of those cut and come again flowers, and that I just absolutely love. Alrighty, I think that is that. Thank you for tagging along with me for another garden tour. Happy August. I can't believe that we are approaching school and September and fall and the end of the garden season. I mean, I guess I was recording garden videos until like October last year. It kind of just keeps going for a while, and then there's harvesting and preserving, and we'll probably get into more harvesting over the course of the next few weeks, especially when those beans and tomatoes start to come in, and then that's really when the pressure kind of starts falling on me to preserve everything. Alrighty, so that is all for real. Thank you again for tagging along with me. I'll see you in the next one. As always, I love you, have fun, and be kind.